Hello everyone, hope you guys are well. Today we'll be discussing the best jobs for teens, and this will also include my personal anecdotes, so hope you guys are excited, and let's jump into today's presentation. Best jobs for teens. Here are the table of contents for today. We're going to be discussing the cost of living in California as well as the US, the food, education, seasonal, and then the service industry, as well as concluding. Now, I'd like to keep in mind that the service industry incorporates the food, education, and seasonal as it's a very big portion of our economy. It's the biggest currently, standing at around 70 to 80%. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, let's start off with the cost of living in California, as it will be essential when I talk about my personal anecdotes. The annual cost of living in California, according to 2020 data from the Bureau of Economic Analysis, was $46,636. This number was calculated through measuring major spending categories such as housing and utilities, healthcare, food and beverages, gas and energy, as well as personal expenditures. So all of this combined equals to $46,636. Now, the average home in California was $700,000 in October 2021, and the California Association of Realtors predicted that the state median will go over $800,000 in 2022. So, in October 2021, $700,000. Now, have this in mind because we're going to talk about Texas. The average home value in October 2021, according to Zillow, for Texas homes were $267,523. If all of those numbers don't stick, just think about $267,000 compared to $700,000. So there's more than a $400,000 gap. That's pretty absurd. And if we talk about the average living cost in US, we get, according to NerdWallet, $3,189 per month, which equates to $38,268. So the cost of living in California, there's a 22% increase in comparison to the cost of living in US. So that's pretty absurd. Now let's talk about the minimum wage. In the US, the current federal minimum wage is $7.25 per hour. But in California, because the cost of living is so high, we also have a higher wage minimum. So it's $14 for less than 25 employees and $15 for more than 26 employees. Okay. Now let's talk about the food industry. The food industry is a complex network of farmers and businesses that supply the majority of the food consumed by the world population. It covers all aspects beginning from food production and the sale. And areas in this sector include agriculture, manufacturing, food processing, marketing, retail, education, research and development, regulation, and financial services. So we're not just talking about the production, but from production and the sale. And in particular, I'll be discussing the retail aspect, which involves direct-to-consumer, such as restaurants and franchises. Currently, I work in the retail sector within the food industry. I work at Rubio's and Islands, and both of them are franchises in California. And in both locations, I work in the back of the house, which is where the cooks and other kind of support staff work. And then the front of the house is the area where the diners sit. And it's crucial to be aware of the management hierarchy. At restaurants, if you're working in the back of the house, the goal is to become a line cook because you usually get more hours and paid the most in the back. And in the front of the house, you start as a host or a busser, and the goal is to become either a waiter or waitress as they make the most. This all depends on whether you like your position and if you want to maximize your earnings. But on the bottom right, if we look at this picture, this is an organizational chart of a restaurant, and it's really essential to keep this in mind. So at Rubio's currently, I make a base pay of $15 with tips. And I also, at Islands, I make around $15, but I'm not exactly sure how the tipping is said because I get payrolls. And the payrolls, it doesn't include that information. So at Rubio's, I'm a prep cook, which means I prepare the ingredients, create sauces, and afterwards I do the dishes. And at Islands, I'm a dishwasher. And it's a lot of work, especially during dinner times. So when there's a lot of demand, there's a lot of plates and utensils that I gotta get through for the busters, which we'll be talking about in just a minute, to organize. So when working at food or like food retail areas, you'll be met with very eccentric customers, and you need to adapt to remain calm at all times. And if you guys are thinking about working in the food industry, I recommend starting out either in the back of the house as a dishwasher or a busser to kind of get a feel of the environment. Because if you start working right away as a cook or want to do host, it could be a little hard. Customer service it takes time and a lot of patience. And if you don't have any experience, it might be quite shocking at first. So let's talk about the jobs for teens. And I based off the national average salary using various of websites, and I'll leave that in the link in the description as well. So for teens, busser, again, is a person who clears tables in a restaurant. This means that they're cleaning and setting each table when someone leaves, restocking the plates, and also even serving food. Although this is what the waiters and waitresses do. Although the servers receive the tips, they also tip out 20 to 45% of their earnings to the colleagues, such as bartenders, bussers, and hosts. So on top of the base pay, you also make tips. Host is the first person to meet the guest when they enter to a restaurant, and they're in charge of the dining experience. And they make $11.55 per hour. And we need to recognize that bussers, servers, and baristas, these national average salary, I don't think they account for tips. The cook is responsible for preparing the food, cooking food items through grilling, frying, sautéing, which means frying quickly with oil, and managing food stations as well as cleaning it as well. The server is responsible for taking orders and serving food and beverages to the guest. The server is a gender-neutral term for waiter and waitresses. And then the national average salary for restaurant servers were $11.42 per hour. Last but not least, we have the barista. Barista works in a coffee shop to make coffee-related beverages. The responsibility of baristas include greeting customers, answering questions about the menu, taking inventory, and maintaining a clean lobby area for the customers. My cousin currently works at Durajuru, which is a bakery cafe, and he makes around $15.5, which is quite a lot. Although they have less than 25 employees, he's making 50 cents more because he got a recent raise. But the national average salary for a barista is $11.59 per hour. Now let's talk about the education sector, the education industry. The education sector provides instruction and training in a wide variety of subjects. This sector is composed of establishments such as schools, colleges, universities, and training centers. And according to Zion Market Research, the U.S. education industry collected revenues of about $1.1 trillion in 2020 and is set to earn nearly $2.3 trillion by 2028. So there's definitely a big market for education, especially for younger students as well as higher education. Now, within the education industry, I want to talk about what's available for teens, which include tutor, instructors, and camp counselors. So let's talk about tutors. Society rewards you handsomely for your knowledge. According to Indeed.com, the national hourly pay for tutors was a whopping $21.31 per hour. Tutors work directly with students to enhance their knowledge in certain subjects through simplifying their lessons and help students to develop learning methods. And I personally recommend this to any high school students who are cognitively intelligent or if they have a good understanding of any subject. As long as you have a good base and you could share that upon younger students, then you'll be compensated. It also allows you to reinforce what you know and to understand how you attain information. And lastly, you also are helping others along the process. I worked as a tutor briefly for around a month, and since I got this job, I got this job from my aunt's friend's daughters. So my aunt's friend's daughters was the person I tutored. And I was paid around $200 for around 5 sessions in total, which lasted 2 hours each, which comes down to around $20 an hour. So the Indeed.com, which is a job board listing, website is pretty accurate. I was paid in cash and I didn't have to pay any taxes, which is could be another incentive. I wouldn't have opportunities without the connection with my aunt though, so it's really essential that if you want to become a tutor, you actively are searching or you build connections for these opportunities to arise. So currently my cousin also works as a tutor in Mathnasium, which is a math learning center targeted towards 1st to 12th graders, and he receives around $14 an hour. But the hours are quite flexible and he enjoys it. Second, we have instructors. You can become a swim instructor, a preschool sports instructor, and even a skateboard instructor. The duties of becoming an instructor means that you can provide a structured class teaching students a particular skill. I personally have no I personally have no experience, but since you're usually working with younger students, I bet you need to be able to tolerate children, and you need to have a passion for what you're teaching. To become an instructor, some organizations might require you to obtain a lifeguard or CPR certification, so keep this in mind as well. The average swim instructor salary according to Zippia was $11.84 per hour. And I also wanted to include camp counselors under this category. Camp counselors often work at camps during the summer to plan activities and events to engage campers. Camp counselor seems to be a great summer job because you're being surrounded with people who are looking for adventures. The national average salary was $12.65. Now let's talk about the seasonal industry. The seasonal industry composes of activities within an economic sector in which the majority of operations take place during a specific time of the year, usually within half a year or less. Seasonal businesses include vacation cottages, lawn care service, or snow removal service. If you're in high school and you want to build experience as an entrepreneur, you might think about creating your own snow removal company or lawn mowing business. That doesn't sound too bad to build experience and also understand the physical labor aspect. Both lawn mowing and snow removing requires high hours as well as grueling physical labor. But however, the pay is quite high because the structural jobs appear only due to increased demand and low supply. We have to recognize that seasonal industries, they have a lot of demand on certain times of the year. That's the most important. And other seasonal jobs include county fair or amusement park attendant, who are in charge of operating rides, selling tickets, or handling food stands. And their pay is around $11.70. And we also have holiday retail sales associate, who answers questions and assists in daily store operations. And you also get a discount, especially in franchises such as Hollister, Abercrombie & Fitch, American Eagle, big retail stores like that. I believe you get around a 10 to 15% discount. And if you work during the holiday season, the pay is usually higher. And holiday seasons would include Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, big holidays. And the average holiday retail sales associate salary was $14.12 per hour. Now let's talk about the service industry. All the jobs we discussed incorporates the service industry. And it offers services. Service industry, it just means that you're providing services instead of a tangible good. And over 107.8 million people in the US worked in the private sector. And it constitutes around 70 to 80% of our economy, which is pretty whoppingly big. I wanted to include online jobs that are considered non-traditional but highly lucrative because it allows you to be compensated for your skills. So first we have the web designer, and web designers are people who work to build, design, and add improvements to websites. So it's a lot of client work because you have to meet the customer's needs, but you get paid $21.98 per hour, and it also allows you to refine your skills. Editing or proofreading. If you're proficient in speaking English or any other language, you could offer to edit someone's work for $20 an hour or more. We also have a social media assistant, which gets paid $17 per hour. And if you are good at managing social media and have good experience with generating leads, I think this would be a very lucrative market, especially for small businesses. So these are some of the jobs that really sought out and thought was viable in modern times. Now, on to the conclusion. Work provides meaning for our lives and it impacts us in terms of physical health, financially, emotionally, and socially. And working at a young age gives you an edge by learning the importance of money and understanding the value of hard work. And by understanding the correlation between time and money, you have a different outlook on life and seeking for better opportunities and how to optimize. Remember that society rewards you based upon your skills and experiences. All right? And I'd like to end with a quote from Toni Morrison. I tell my students, when you get these jobs that you have been so brilliantly trained for, just remember that your real job is that you are free. You need to free somebody else. If you have some power, then your job is to empower somebody else. This is not just a grab bag candy game. By Toni Morrison. And we're back. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this presentation and learned a thing or two about some possible jobs that you guys might be thinking. And always recognize the importance of time and that you need to value it. Because if not, other people will take advantage of you because you do not value it. Same thing with money. The reason why money has value is because of a collective understanding and because it allows you to buy things that are essential for survival. So if you do not value your time, others will take advantage of it. So make sure you always are reminded the importance of it and to leverage it by building skills and thinking about how you can provide. So yeah, I'd like to leave it off that. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope to talk to you guys soon. Peace.